thing that I want to do this morning is thank Francis Tuttle for letting us use this room. Yes. When we were looking for a place to meet back in 2025, we kind of outgrowing where we were in 24, and we were looking at lots of places to meet. We visited, we spent months and months and months looking around, and it was hard. You would be surprised on how hard it is to find some place that will let us meet once a month, that has good parking and a comfortable atmosphere. And Francis Tuttle fit the bill, and they were so excited to have us as well. So we just really, really appreciate them very much. And then, of course, I want to recognize our education partners. If you are an education partner, please stand. So I don't know about you guys, but I really appreciate being able to offer this for free. And the reason that we can offer this for free is because we have highly vetted education partners that support this. They are members of our community, local business owners that see the need for making sure that people have good, safe information in our community. So like-minded business owners in Oklahoma City, and we all come together to offer this event. Nobody is here to try and sell anything or make you sign up for something. We are all here because we care about you and we want you to have good information. So please take a moment when we get done today to say hello and say thank you to one of our education partners, because not only do they sponsor us, honestly, financially, so that we can meet in this room and have the materials that we have, but they also are committed to being here once a month, and they have jobs, and they leave their jobs and they come and they volunteer their time to be here and answer your questions. So they are a great resource for you, and I want to appreciate them. All right. You all know that I have a love-hate relationship with clickers, but we're going to work it out together. All right, so I want to highlight the fact that we have a seminar in South Oklahoma City, and I know because I've lived here and around here my whole life, very long time, right? But I know that North Oklahoma City doesn't always drive to South Oklahoma City and vice versa. But I will encourage you, if you can and if you're able, to join us next Thursday. We will have our first South Oklahoma City Senior Seminar, and it is about the truth about artificial intelligence. We've seen an uptick in scams. We are going to have DA Jennifer Austin from Cleveland County. District Attorney Jennifer Austin is going to be there. We're also going to have two detectives that focus on scams. And then we will have a bank representative talking about what they do to help protect you from scams. So if you're able to go, we do have space left in the room. So please register. You should be able to do that on your yellow feedback form, and we'll get you registered for that event. Okay, in February, we're going to do the truth about calling, and we're not going to go through all the seminars, guys. I'm just telling you what's coming up next. So don't worry, we're not about to do 12 seminars. But I do want you to know in February, we're going to do the truth about calling 911. I'm really excited about this one. We have a first responder. We have what is it called? A dispatcher. We'll have a dispatcher coming. So lots of really good information about calling 911, and we would love for you to register for this event. Community tour, we're going to be meeting at Acclaim to tour Acclaim. I love Acclaim. They have a woodworking shop there, so you have to come see that if you like things like that. But Acclaim is going to be where we're going to do a tour on February 11th. We're also going to tour the Oklahoma City Rehabilitation Hospital, and they do have their new expansion ready for us to look at. I'm always fascinated with advances in medicine and medical care, so I'm excited to see what they're doing there at Oklahoma City Rehabilitation. And then on March 10th, Elena is going to talk to us about insurance and roofs and things like that. Has anyone ever heard Elena talk before? Elena with Ambassador Roofing? Yeah. She's a fantastic educator. So please pay attention to that. There's a lot of good information. Okay. So today, the truth about getting older, going from surviving to thriving. This is so timely and pertinent this time of year. In January, people are thinking about, what they did the previous year, what they're going to do moving forward. And my hope for all of us every year is that our December looks a lot more accomplished or healthier or whatever those things that you want to accomplish than January did. So we want to take, that 1% rule, getting 1% better at whatever you do. The biggest myth about aging is that it just happens to us. Guys, if you do nothing, you're going to get old. That's true. But you have some options. And, I have to tell you, I was at, and let me tell you who I am. I'm Becky 𝙧𝙪𝙪𝙪. I'm with 𝙧𝙪 Real Estate Group. I'm your moderator today. I am a real estate agent that specializes in working with seniors. So I was at a listing appointment this past week, and I have a client who's in her 90s. She's precious, and I love her. And I said, well, I need to come and meet with you to get some things signed. Can I come on Friday? And she said, nope, no, you cannot come on Friday. I said, oh, okay. And she goes, look at those silver speakers on Fridays. And you can't come on Friday because I'm out to take a nap after that. And I say, and she's so spry and active, and she's moving to Concordia. Actually, I'm really excited for her. But she is, and Concordia is one of our education partners. So she is so healthy and active. And I just looked at her and I said, well, I'm so proud of you, because sometimes just getting out the door to get to silver speakers is half the battle, but she does, and it shows in her life. So we're going to talk about some of that today. Today's truth: thriving doesn't happen by accident. It requires intentional choices, honest reflection, flexibility, and action before a crisis forces decisions. Here's what I'm going to tell you about going from surviving to thriving. Thriving is on the other side of a hard decision, right? Because surviving is just kind of dealing with life as it comes to you. But if you have the clarity and the foresight to move through those difficult decisions, striving is on the other side of that. That's the only way to get there. So we're going to talk about some of that today. I'm going to bring up our panelists. They're so excited to be here. So come on up, Lisa, Tamara, and Brooke. Yep. You are welcome. We're excited to have you and get settled. So reactive, isolated, and passive is surviving. But if our little guy walks and makes a left turn, then he can get to valued, connected, and purposeful. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. All right. Well, Brooke, you're closest to me, so you're the lucky winner. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and tell us your name and where you work and why that's important to us today.
My name is Brooke Rager, and I am the Chief Operating Officer of a company called Psych Plus. We are a mental health group of providers that ground in post-acute communities. We also have clinics. This is very important to me, as we actually started this company due to something that happened in my grandmother personally. Mental health is one of the most important things that we could possibly, it's the most important thing that we can take care of in our lives other than our physical health. So it's very important that we talk about it.
Hey, great. Tamara, I'm Tamara Lipke, and I am the Director of Business Development at Oklahoma City Rehab Hospital. What we do is we strive to get people back home when they're independent. Typically after a catastrophic, maybe car accident, fall, and stroke, something happens that gets you displaced. And so our goal is to get you back home, right?
And I'm Lisa.
Hi, Don. All right, you'll have to share what. Thanks.
I'm Lisa Donovan. I am a sales director at Legend Senior Living. We have 17 communities here in Oklahoma. We're a family-owned business, and it's an option if you want to ride independent.
love that. Thank you so much. And Samara, are y'all excited for your renovations to be done?
So excited.
Yeah, I bet. We're dealing with the renovations here and it's impeding on the parking lot, and we're very ready for those to be done as well. Okay, so I'd like to start with some definitions so that we're all working off of the same thing. So surviving is waiting for something to happen and then reacting. And that is, in my life, what I see a lot of people who are waiting for something to happen and then they're scrambling. I will say, and Lisa and I were talking about this right before we came up here, that we're kind of preaching to the choir because you all are being proactive just by being in the room. So what I'd love for you to take today is what information can I use in my life, but also what can I share with someone else? Because there's a lot of people in our community that need this information. So think about your neighbor, be neighborly. So thriving is knowing the plan you make today is the freedom you keep tomorrow. So I was actually talking to my mother-in-law over Christmas, and she'd be so mad if this is going to be on YouTube. Sorry, I love her, but she needs to have some shoulder surgery, and she's not wanting to do it because of the recovery. Have you guys heard that? Is it all the time? Yeah, because it's hard and it hurts. How many of you have had a shoulder, hip, or knee replacement? Yeah. Was that super fun? Yeah. No. Are you glad you did it? Most of the time, yes. So I feel like this is so timely and you're moving through. So that's what we're going to be talking about today is what do you as an individual need to think about moving through to get to the place where you want to be that's going to be a long-term benefit in your life. Okay, so when you hear, first one, and we'll each of you take that. When you hear the phrase surviving versus thriving, what does that mean in your world, in the mental health world?
So for us, or for me, surviving is just the day-to-day basic needs, solving problems as they arise. Thriving is preparing for the future. It is also thriving is knowing what you're going to do and empowering yourself to see the future, know that it's coming. This will take away so much anxiety if we address it. It actually empowers you to know exactly what you're going to do in the future and have those conversations with your family.
So what does that look like with regards to mental health?
With mental health, for a lot of our patients that are in post-acute communities, this means that they have usually been to the hospital. They've been through some traumatizing situation. They may have had a stroke. They might not be mobile anymore. These things are very common, and no one really thinks about those things. And unfortunately, if we don't prepare for if we do not prepare ourselves to know exactly, if we don't prepare ourselves for our medical needs or our mental health needs, then we end up our families are very anxious. We're very anxious, and that can cause a lot of issues with your mental health. It looks like physical decline, so that it actually ends up with physical health.
Yeah. What about in the rehabilitation world? What does surviving versus thriving look like?
Surviving is something that you've had back pain, hip pain, shoulder pain, neck pain, and just learning to live with it every day. Knowing that there might be an option out there, but not knowing the depth of it is kind of concerning. It's scary. Surgery is scary. So just prepare. That's for thriving. I'm said as educating yourself, finding out what your options are. Does that fit in your world? And if not, making it the initiative to make it work for you so that we can get you back in tip-top shape.
That sounds like courage to me. Yeah. Lisa, what about you?
I kind of take a different take on this and kind of get closer to reality. And one of the things that I always tell people is no one asks you what you want to do after you retire. They talk about what you want to do when you grow up. You lived your whole life, but nobody's been, hey, what are you going to do now? And those not about the finances, but what are you going to do every single day? So that thriving is what you do daily instead of just surviving. I'm retired right now. I'm just going to say I want to be. Yeah.
But why do you think, I want to talk for a minute about the reasons why people put it off. Why, like, what reasons do you see in your day to day that people put off making those difficult decisions?
For mental health, we definitely avoid it because we look at mental health as a weakness. But truth be told, every single person deals with something in their life that has to do with mental health. You go through something traumatic, you have anxiety, worry, all of those things will affect that.
You've been great. Why? Why do you feel? I want to know why. Like, what reasons people have for putting it off?
Okay, so, well, for one, it's a hard topic to talk about. It is something, especially in your generation, that was always kind of pushed under the rug. You guys were told to be tough. And now our generation is really trying to bring it out that we need to talk about it. And it makes people feel like they're weak if they have something wrong with them. But the truth is there's nothing wrong. You need support. And when you have that support, you will feel better.
You know, one of the things that I feel like, because anxiety, depression, all of those things are so prevalent for lots of different reasons, right? I think that there's probably some chemical reasons for that. We take a lot of medications. I think there's some decisions that we make in our lives that might lead to that. There's some things that just happen to us that are outside of our control that happens to that. And one of the things that helps me is just remembering that I'm not so much different than everybody else inside, right? Like the things that I'm struggling with and the things that are stressful to me, they may look different to me at different points in my life. But if I hold on to something and think that it's just me that's dealing with it, then it feels embarrassing and it feels something that you can't talk about. But then when you think there's lots of people that deal with this and we should, I mean, maybe something that I go through will help me to help someone else know what resources are available to them. So just knowing we're not all that different.
And you will realize whenever you start to open up to other people, they start to open up as well. And you'll find that you have a lot of things in common. A lot of people do not like to talk about their past or any traumatic experiences, but sometimes it's very healing to have a friend or a community where you share these things and heal together, because everybody has been through something that they didn't want to go through.
Yeah. So when we were prepping for this, we taught you, well, you said something that really stuck with me, and it said that, and I don't want to misspeak, so I have a note, but it says that mental health is inseparable from physical health. Can you tell me a little bit more about what you meant by that?
Sure, absolutely. So for physical health, mental health is very much like physical health, because when you start losing your appetite, when you don't sleep is one of the number one things. I cannot stress that enough. When you start losing sleep, irritability comes, anxiety comes, it'll be taking a toll on you. So lots of appetite, these are things that will affect your physical health as well. When you're not being social, that also, it looks like physical decline, to be honest with you. So that's why it looks like physical health. But a lot of times when we address these mental health issues, it actually improves our physical health.
Great. I love that. I think, I mean, we've seen that over and over again is, talking about things and getting it out. It makes it feel, when you hold on to something, maybe an anxiety or something that you're feeling that's keeping you up at night, and you don't talk about it, it makes it really hard to move through that experience. But when you actually say it out loud, then you can find a solution to it sometimes.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we like stories here. Okay. So tell me about, I would love to hear an example of someone who very resistant to walking through the process of exploring mental wellness, and it worked out really well.
So, unfortunately, this happens every day for us. We have lots of patients that do that. The number one thing that they hear is, "I'm fine." No, they're not. No, you're not. Because the first thing you hear, somebody told me you're not fine. So, we see a lot of that, but really what it is when mind providers go in and build that trust, all of a sudden you realize this isn't about labels. This isn't about medication change. And sometimes we don't even give you medication. Sometimes you just need a little bit of therapy. Sometimes you need to just talk it through.
Okay. And I told you during the prep that I was going to throw any questions at you that I did, but I am. So, so tell me, logistically speaking, if someone has a concern about if they're going through something that is keeping them up at night, what's the first step? Do they need to talk to their primary care? Who do they need to talk to? What's their first step there?
I would definitely talk to your primary care about it. They would then most likely send a referral to somebody in the psychiatric field. Absolutely.
Okay.
Obviously, if you don't feel comfortable doing that, reaching out to your trusted loved ones is a great resource as well.
I think maybe if you don't feel comfortable doing that, you might need to find a different PCP too.
Absolutely.
Okay. All right. Let's see. Let's talk about red flags. What are some early warning signs that families often miss? And we're just coming off the holidays, so people have been around their families. Sometimes those of us who do that. So
I think one of the number one things, and I really hope none of you ever say this, but I think one of the number one phrases that we hear is, "I don't want to be a burden." How many of you have said that before?
Even well, they're not going to raise their feet. No, I have to.
So I think that is one of the number one things that, as a granddaughter, that's something my grandmother would say to me all the time. And I'm like, "You are my world. What do you mean?" I definitely feel like it's always, they say that phrase right there. You will notice that they may show up to family events and things, but you'll notice that they're not their typical selves. They're not eating as much as they typically do. They're not as talkative as they usually are. You'll notice that they're not doing their hobbies as much anymore. You'll see them withdraw.
Okay. So I appreciate that so much. And I do believe that we don't talk about mental health enough. And that's why you're here. It's a safe place to talk about that. And again, I mean, if you remember nothing else today, remember that we're not all that different from one another, and there are resources out there that that you could prize. You don't have to send in it. So just talk to somebody. Tamara, it's your turn. Tell me what you're seeing the most on your day-to-day about things that are avoidable. You're at Oklahoma Rehabilitation, so you're seeing people who have had a surgery or a fall or something like that. Let's talk about avoidable.
I'm going to go for the ones that are most avoidable. So falls. I'm telling you, that is our number one thing. And they are all across the board. I'm talking you guys are all healthy here, thriving this morning. Get out, you get walking in, those curves get you. And the next thing you know, it's your hip. And now you're in the hospital. In Oklahoma, 8,000 falls a year approximately end up in a hospital. So they estimate there's probably 50,000 falls, but 8,000 of them, and this is in the 65 plus community, about 8,000 of them require a hospital stay. And more than half of them are traumatic brains. So you can hit your head so hard that now you can't do the basic every day. And that was the question, right?
Preventable, yeah.
Oh, yep. So just slow it down in number one. Okay, we're always in a hurry. Number two, I'm going to be staying active. That kind of comes along with the majority of the rehab world is just exercising. That terrible E word, but it does do what it is supposed to do. It helps you with not only your mobility, it helps you with your strength, and it's going to help you recover quicker if you are put in a situation where you need he'll recover.
Yeah. So as speaking to exercising, I have two kids in college and I have a 14-year-old and he wanted to start going to the gym. It is getting me to go to the gym just because I know, man, I'm not going to let my 14-year-old down. So I feel like sometimes that, the companionship and making a decision together. And we talked last January about, we talked about living to 100. We always try to do something in January that's very forward thinking about how we can be proactive. And I shared with the group that Mel Robbins wrote a book called the 5-second rule, and you say 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and you trick your brain into just doing it. So you got to do it sometimes just to get those shoes on and out the door and take a walk outside. Just 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and stand up and go, and don't think twice. So yeah, you got to move it or you lose it. Okay, why? Tell me a little bit more about that mobility and strength. Why is that so important to prevent a fall? Because on the surface, it doesn't really look related.
Yeah. So as we age, our muscles deteriorate. So once you hit 60, they start deteriorating about 2% a year just because of the age. So staying as active as you can is going to help preserve the muscle and keep it strong. A muscle protects our bones. It protects our organs. It gives us energy. So just staying active is just going to it's going to make you feel better. It's just doing it is the hard part. Once you do it, there's no exercise no workout that's ever regretted.
That's true. That's true. Sometimes that's true. Spanish Code did a talk, I think in November or December, and Spanish Code is one of our education partners. They did a talk, and I think that where they were testing for mobility and or muscle tone, I think. And so they were doing you could do a test where it talks about this is what you need to do to gain muscle. And Mark Cope he has a machine that tests balance too. And so all of those things are really important very good. What steps do people need to be taking to be proactive, even if they feel like it's a late start?
All right. So this is kind of a simple thing, and I feel like we overthink it. So that's why I'm going to call it simple. I don't need to call it simple, and then should already know this. But I think we overthink. So when you think I've got to get fit, I've got to start working out. I need cardiovascular health. I've got to get my blood sugars down. I've got to get my blood pressure down. We overthink how you actually do it. So besides obviously going to the doctor, the next step is going to be to be active. That doesn't mean go walk 5K today. Okay, if you haven't walked a 5K, that's a terrible decision back in the night. So keep it going simple. A simple gesture that I think is easy for everybody to commit to would be parking a little bit further out at the grocery store. Not as far as you can see, but 4 or 5, blocks down. And then the next time or a few times later when you get that mastered, park a little bit further. And if we're not there yet, then how about getting up between commercials and taking a walk around the inside of the house? Or 2 laps of how long the commercial is. While sitting, you can always do easy things of just moving your legs, getting those muscles going. 1 pound of weight sitting on the couch is going to get you going. And it's just a start. It's a thing, 100% answer no, but it's you taking the initiative to start what's going to ultimately make sure.
You mentioned planning before an injury or decline changes. And that is what we spend a lot of time talking about planning ahead. What decisions do you wish people were making before a fall or hospitalization?
So knowing your options and knowing the difference between them. So a big thing is if you need a hospital stay and now you need to possibly go into a rehab hospital, you're going to be given a whole list of Medicare approved places. You're now being crunched on time and they're kind of looking at the watch and make your decision. And you're like, I just recovered from surgery, give me a minute. And so you tend to make a convenience call. Well, I live here and this place is here. It's closest to my home. I'm going to go there. Which is fine. But what I would like for you to do is go see that place now. If you think that, we don't know, But if there's a handful of places that are local to you that can offer rehabilitation option, go check them out. Ask the hard questions. Ask them, how long is the patient going to get to see that gym? That's the number one, because that's why you're going there. And ask about the nurse to patient ratio. Find out how many patients is your nurse going to have. Because if it's 10, I'm not going to know a whole lot of time for you. And so just hearing that and just knowing, and then if they don't meet your needs, and keep looking to find, so that when you are, or your loved one is put in that situation, you're able to make a solid, I know where I want to go.
And I'm going to spring one on you too. Tell me, I really want to know, like, does it make a big difference if you put off, like, let's say my mother-in-law, for instance, with her shoulder surgery, if whether she does it this year or in 5 years, how does that affect her recovery?
So yes, the quicker you take care of it, it's going to be better. And the things that are happening inside that we don't see, it's causing her to, I was talking about
That's totally fine. She's going to love it.
that. They call it baby, but she's babying that thigh. So she's honestly losing her strength in that area, and not even, she thinks it's just related to one thing off surgery. It'll come back. Your muscle deteriorating. It's not being used. You're now on trying to get further injured because now you're overcompensating on your strong side. And so what we hear often is, oh, I got this knee done. I'm going to go in and get this knee done. Like this, because they probably waited too long to get this knee fixed and they overcompensated on this one. So to get it fixed quickly, yeah, it's a month.
What do you see is the hardest thing? Because like I said, if we're going to move from surviving to thriving, I want to know the hard, right? Like, what's the hard? What do those hard days look like? What is the hardest things they people having to move through to get to the other side?
A lot of it's mental. It's a mental unknown, scary. And the second's going to be that, well, the mental part also feeling like a burden, because you are going to ask for help, whether it's a loved one or a stranger in the hospital. You're going to need help, but that's why we're here. And so I would say that, and then just, I think that the people fear of what recovery looks like. They think that it's going to be too long. They just do so much going on. You have to make time for you.
Yeah. Yeah. You expressed that two-way communication with providers and family is vital. What do you mean by that?
It is okay to tell your doctor that you don't know what they're saying. Yes. They do not have, they should not feel, I don't know what words to use. They should not feel any anger or annoyance in, well, my other doctor said it, or my nurse said it. They should feel empowered and not even talk to you about what these other professionals are saying. And if they have further questions, they should feel able to reach out and talk to other providers in your community about your care. So number one is, if you don't understand what they're saying, definitely say, not following, and yet break it down for me. The other thing is you should be able to ask questions. They should be listening. They should have further questions unless you're just very provoked. And I think that it's okay that if this doctor has taken care of your whole family and your spouse and was done phenomenal with them, but just didn't meet your needs, it's okay to get another doctor's opinion. And the big thing about picking a doctor is you want to be able to have those hard conversations with them and not feel judged. Even though we all want that, I don't feel judged, but just feeling comfortable to have those hard conversations and feeling that they are here.
Yeah, I want to thread that when it comes to your health is, and that's mental health, physical health, everything. If you are not having good conversations with your doctor and feel like they're listening to you, there are way too many great doctors. There's a way to, and it may not be that there's anything wrong with that doctor. It can just be, it's just not the right person for you.
And typically what it is. It's just, it's not your match. It doesn't mean that it's a bad person. Either way, it's just not your match.
Yeah.
It's okay to shop around.
Yes. Yeah. you should shop around. It's so important. Okay, Lisa. I think I have a note. Amy made me a note that I have a slide for this. So community. All right, so let's talk about, we are not moving. Yeah, I've got a slide. We're not moving people into the old folks' home. That's not what we're talking about when it comes to community today, right?
No, really, this is your community right here.
Yes.
I watched a lot of you shake hands, talk to people, introduce yourself to the person next to you. Community can be anything. Yes, I work for a company that has communities, but that doesn't mean that's the right lid for your pot.
I love that. I'm going to say it all the time. We were talking and Lisa said, well, there's a lid for every pot. And I said, well, there sure is a lid for every pot. I love that so much. So when we're talking about community, we're talking about being with others, socializing, not isolating, getting outside, finding others, and honestly, that specific fit for your life. So lots of people finding that in a senior community, lots of people age in place in their home and find that in their church or in different organizations in Villages OKC. Like, there is community wherever you look. You guys are part of my community. I look forward to seeing you. I know you. I know your name. And I miss you when you're not here. And it just takes some proactivity, even if you live in a community. Yeah. I
had a resident who loves to play. Went to rehab. His mom, he's going to go with his mom, and she had 18 stairs, so he can handle the stairs without a leg. She came to our community toward wanted me to go talk to him at rehab, and he said, I'm not leaving him an old people. I'm rocking with my son. Sorry. And I explained to him, well, we're not old people, And for the first couple months, he just sat in his apartment, would come out and eat by himself, go back to his apartment. Now, it's been 2 years, and he is the president of the Residents Council, of the ambassadors, and I watched him do a PowerPoint presentation at his last meeting. So he has really taken to the community, like, made it a purpose for himself. He's not working. Again, we went back to, what do you do after you retire? Think about after you retire, your world just became really small. You would go to work, you'd see your friends with your neighbors, they've all moved on. You're friends with some friends that your kids had parents with. You went to your kids' ball game. Occasionally now you go to your grandkids' ball games. It's a much smaller worry. So finding your community opens back up your world. It gives you something to do. And we all learned during the nasty COVID that people need people. So making a community will help you thrive rather than survive.
Yeah. Yes. And it takes, and if you're not going to reach a community, that's okay. You got to find your community and be committed to going and getting out. Because you're so right. I mean, like, when you're in your working life, people notice if you don't show up. You kind of get in trouble. You don't show up. But when you retire, you don't get in trouble if you don't show up.
Yeah. And I was telling that my mom is 80, so big more. And she doesn't sit. She volunteers. She works part-time. She just wants to be out and doing something. And she said, if I sign, I'm going to die. And so, but she has all these friends. So one of the things she said is, if something happens to me, go in my phone and call Janice. She'll call everybody else. So, if she's got her community. I work for a company that sells communities. She's one of them, like, she's got her home. She wants to live at home. That's okay. That's going to work her.
Yes. Well, and I'm glad that we laugh, but that statement is so true, because somebody might staying home may not be the lid for their pot. Maybe moving closer to a family member is the lid to their pot. Maybe moving in with a family member might be the lid to that person's spot. There's there's lots of communities to tour as well when we do talk about senior communities, and we have several in the room. The reason that so many different ones exist is because there are a lot of needs of personalities out there and different interests in different parts of town and different, I mean, honestly, physical needs and mental needs and dietary needs. And so, I mean, that lid for the pod, that is so important. So, I mean, like, what's your lid, right?
I mean, it's not like trying to be ladies when you tried on your wedding dress, you didn't buy it right away. You wanted to look at other selections. Even buying a home, you don't buy the first time sleepwalking. It's okay to buy it. You want to make sure that it's right for you.
Yeah, it doesn't mean that it's not right for anybody.
Yeah.
It's just not for you. Yep, exactly. Okay, so I love your heart for the community, and I really want to hear about some challenges that you've seen. Others, like, tell us some stories. We want to hear some stories.
I'm not using names, so it's okay. So there is, again, it is different. So depending on what you need, but I got into this business, and I remember when I was in the middle school and junior high, elementary school, I was in the handmill fire. When we go ring bells at the nursing home, and it scared me to death. So that is not what community living is today in 2026. There are all different kinds. So first of all, you have to think about, do I want independent living? Do I want a senior just 55 plus apartment? Do I need assisted living? Do I need family care? Do I need to go into long-term care? So when you get people, sometimes they don't know where they fit. And some of our residents just continue to thrive in my building. I've seen them thrive in other buildings. So for a story about somebody, it's just what I tell people is they get what you can. I just sat down with a gentleman yesterday that is concerned that he might need to go to assisted living. He's an independent right now. And we just started talking about his life. And the only reason he thought he might need to go is because his 90th birthday is coming up. And it's a little scary for him. So what he's deciding to do is he is taking his daughter, he's from New Jersey, and he is going back to see his child in the home. And he's got 5 places he's going to see. He's going to take a picture in front of every one of them because he's written down his life story. I think that's another way he can pride, because he's talking about his life because he wants his kids to know.
What do you think is the hard thing? What's that hard piece that he's going to need to move through to get to that Friday?
The age is just a number. 90 is not old anymore. I say that because I'm 16, so 90 is not old anymore. But it's not. I mean, there's so many changes that have happened with medicine, with how we live our lives, that make us a lot older, longer. So that roadblock he has, and he's afraid for that 90. I was afraid for the 60 for a long time, but now I'm like, hey, I'm 60. I'm saying they all want, right?
All right, good. So talk a little bit more about aging, shrinking your world, and community opening and back up. I feel like it's important for us to spend some time really thinking about, has my world shrunk since I've retired, and what things can I do to proactively keep that from happening?
So as you sit here, I see some people in there that maybe still talking to an aging parent. When you talk to them, what does that conversation look like? Because I know before my mom started volunteering and running around and everything, her whole thing would be, I took the dog to the brewery today. And that was the world. So opening that back up, even if you do it in a community, there's lots of activities, and there's a family that you feel with all the other residents, and you'll get around and you'll meet those people, and somebody will invite you to play cards, somebody might teach you crochet. Hey, the crochet room's coming up, so they'll kind of think of those things. But doing it at home and opening it up is, you have to get out of the house and do something. Silver sneakers, go to church, sing in the choir, go teach young kids reading at the library. There's all kinds of things you can do that'll open your world back up. And then guess what? You start to meet more people. And then when I call you, you're not going to go, yeah, keep a dog that everywhere today. I had a resident who, her grandson came to see her. He brought her to his sooner. And she said, you can come back later. It is being done. So it is, that is what she did to open her world back up. And he told me, he said, she just sat and watched TV all day. So instead of getting out and finding something.
How important, I think we can all think of stories of how important it is to have someone that you talk to every day. Have you experienced that in your community? Someone who ended up maybe in a surviving situation because they didn't have somebody that they talk to every day. The world had just gotten that small.
Yeah, I think the biggest one is when somebody is a stroke survivor and there's a communication, like they're hard to understand. And so you have to be patient and you have to find somebody who will be aware of that, but still have that conversation. And going to the mental health piece, they can talk to somebody there and going to rehab. They can do some kind of teaching with that to learn it. But I think that is a difficult place, but it can be overcome.
Yeah. Yep. I want to talk about stigmas for a little bit about what, because yes, be proactive in your community and aging in place. If you find that that's not the best fit for you and you do start looking at communities, people have put that off for a long time. So can you speak to some of the stigmas that people have to move through to get to that option in their mind?
Well, first of all, a lot of people think I have to give all my money to the community. That's the first stigma. That is not the case in every single community. You don't have to sign away everything you own. Second, they think I'm too young to be in the community. I'm not ready yet, and I'm old. Let's think you're 9 years old, you're going to die. So the other stigma is we've all been staring our same home and they think that's what they are. If you go visit a community, you'll see people out, people participating in activities, people just having conversations with other people. So I think that those are the three stigmas. There's a bunch of old people. I'm not. And the back part is if you don't make it quick enough, you're going to have to go to scary nursing home. So you need to be proactive and think about what would I do if, and to her point, go toward communities, find one that you may like, and when you're telling your loved ones, this is where I want to go if something happens.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, you guys have heard me say this before. I mean, touring communities is just as much about finding what's not the right fit for you as it is finding what is the right fit for you. Because if something were to happen and someone in your life needed to make a decision for you and you haven't toured anywhere or seen anything or none, it may not be. I mean, I guess I would like to venture to say that if you have no idea and they're just guessing, it probably is not going to be the right fit for you. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And again, nobody educated anybody how to find a fit. Nobody educated anybody on what to do if this X-ray happens.
Yep.
It's the same as mental health. Nobody wants to talk about it. That's not going to happen to me. I don't want to talk about it. I'm not ready yet. Those things are all said. But if it happens and isn't, then you're going to make a rash decision.
Yep. Okay. So with regards to mental health, with regards to physical health and your involvement, your connection with other people, so in front of you, everyone, you've got two things. You have a handout that you're going to take with you, which, do you guys like the folders? Yeah. Okay, so we're trying it. We're going to see. I want you to bring your folder back every time you come because it's going to be a really good spot for you to put your handout. And then, of course, anything that you pick up from the education partners that you find might be helpful to you, that's a good place for it to live where it doesn't get lost. So bring your folder every time. But on your handout, that's about you. That's notes for you to make and take. So that's about what is your heart. It says on there, what is my heart? What is the thing that you know, if you would just get up and do it, would make a positive impact on your life? And it's not always fun. You know, we don't always get to have our favorite food for dinner. We don't always get to, lay around all day. We have to make hard decisions because we know that that's part of getting to the other side. The other thing that you have in front of you is your yellow feedback form. If you're new here, how many of you it's your first time? Do I have any first timers? Awesome. Good. We're so glad to have you. So we turn in our feedback forms here. I know you go some places and that feedback form is just kind of extra. We actually get almost 100% of our feedback forms back. And the ones we don't get, it's usually because it's a married couple and they did their homework together, right? So we do appreciate your feedback. It helps us to provide a better seminar, and we read every single one of them. There's a place on there for you to write down if you'd like to be connected with one of our education partners. So as you're filling that out, if you think I'd like to talk to that person, you can write that down. If there is, panelists, if there's an education partner, there's a space for you to write that down as well. And then on the back of your yellow feedback form, those are some upcoming events that you can register for. And Amy will take all of these and make sure that you get registered and you'll get your reminders and all of that for that. So, but please continue to bring your folder every time. So as you're looking at your handout that you're going to keep and you're going to take it with you, so the white paper with the purple at the top. Panelists, if someone leads today, it takes one proactive step. What should it be? So mental health, physical, community involvement. And then you, in our audience, be thinking about you specifically. And you're going to listen to them, but you're also going to write down what you need to do. And you're going to take that with you. So what would you love to see people take an action step towards with regards to their mental health? Talk about it. Talk about it with your family. Be honest. Be open. All I really want for all of you is to feel comfortable in your own skin. And the only way to do that is to address the problem at hand and to open up and be with your community. You guys are obviously doing that today, so that is a great step. But like I said, the most important thing that we could possibly do is talk about it. I love that. Hey, Brian, what would you like to see people do? Tours. I think that you should look at where you live and what's close by and go and tour and make sure that one of those fits your box that you ever need to be in a form of rehabilitation. And it's used wildly across the board. You can find places that have rehab in the name and they don't have any rehabilitation. So definitely go and make sure that if you were to need it, this place checks your boxes. If not, keep looking. Okay, great. Lisa, what do you want people to do? Well, you guys are already doing it, but I want you to get out of the house and I want you to find your purpose. Find something to do and get yourself active. Okay, perfect. We're a little bit early for Q&A, but I think let's go ahead and do that. So let me tell you how Q&A works. What we're going to do is if you have a question for our panelists, you're going to raise your hand and one of my mic runners will come to you and they're going to make sure the question on a comment because we love comments that we're asking for questions. So if you have a comment, come tell me answer. But if you have a question, raise your hand. And then our panelists will need to share the mic for that, if that's okay. So what questions do we have?
I think Corey Hepper has one first, actually.
Okay, and then we've got
Options. If we have loved ones who are hesitant to address issues that they might be having or hesitant to have difficult conversations, what's a good way to help them?
Oh, I love that. So, Corey's kind of soft spoken, but and in case you didn't hear, he said if you notice someone that sees something, say something mentality, but who are you saying something to?
I would say talk to your physician, your primary care physician, talk to your family.
But if the family member notices that their family member is not themselves, what does that family member think?
Family member to talk to everyone. Need to talk to the I don't want to say patient. They need to talk to their loved one that is having these issues, be very honest and open about what they see. If they see any sort of changes, because that was the issue that we need to address immediately. Also, if you're able to go to the doctor with them and support them while they are following that primary care, that they're having these issues, encourage them. Please look to their physician about it. If they do happen to have a therapist or a psychiatrist, absolutely. Talk them into talking to them.
Is there a good way to make them feel comfortable talking? Like, is it something that you want to bring up every time you see them, or is it something that you need to? What have you seen work really well?
No, there's a lot of no. I definitely don't think you should park them, because then they're going to shut down. They're not going to want to talk about it at all. For me, when I'm having these hard conversations, sometimes I get pulled in and I help out. I know about through my communities, telling them that they might need to go through a different level of care. I think it's really important to make sure they don't feel alienated. Make sure you're using we statements. We are here with you. We can do this together. Make sure they understand that you're not leaving them just because they might have to change their life or change something about them. Make sure they understand that you are part of their team.
Yeah, perfect. Kate?
Yes, this is for mental health. Do you find increase with the seasonal issues like it's winter now, people are staying in more?
That's a good question.
Seasonal affective disorder is very real. Yes. We do see that quite often, just like we see adjustment disorder. So we do encourage people to step out in the sunlight as much as possible, because that does make it so
it's not another fire.
But yes, it is absolutely something, especially in the winter time, we see a lot of people withdraw because they're not able to go outside. And I still encourage you to sit by a window if it's too cold to go outside. That's very important. Do the things that you like to do. If you're a painter, paint. Even if you don't feel like it, when you take that step of reading that book, reading that book or painting or doing whatever it is that makes you happy, even though you don't want to do it, a lot of times if you go ahead and force yourself to do it, you end up enjoying it. And you feel so proud of yourself for taking that step.
Yeah, I love that. And I think also what I've noticed is that I'm on my phone more when it's cold and gross outside. And that is not healthy. You got to put that thing down and walk around your house, get your steps in. I don't know how many times I've called Amy and she is like walking her steps around her house because it's gross outside. That girl can get a walking pad. Oh, wait. All right, Corey.
Oh, hi, Lisa. I was going to ask, some of us maybe have too many it's not funny. I've lost the dogs and I'm sometimes in that often. So what are most of the communities living? Like one or two or
It really depends on the community. I will say as a generalization too.
okay.
But there's lots of people that can like your pet and you can just visit it if you don't have visual identity.
And what's the name of what's the name of yours? I forgot.
I'm with Legend Senior Living.
Okay.
When I tour a community or a rehab, what should I look for?
I would definitely look for in a community active residents. I would look for how long it takes from the apartment they're showing you to where you're going to eat. And I would look for just a sense of what feels right. So it's something different for everybody. But in a lot of communities, the residents are very excited to tell potential residents how much they like it there. So stop and ask them questions.
Corey, do you have somebody?
Yes, we do. The first question is, you mentioned patient to doctor ratio. How do you find any given doctor to patient ratio or patient to nurse ratio? And also, Jim, what is the amount of time that you can spend in injury?
All right. So inpatient rehab is 3 hours minimum every single day. We do say 5 days in a week though. So 5 days, 3 hours a day, or 5 days a week, 3 hours a day is a solid number. We strive to hit over that. So that's like the bare minimum of what we're doing.
So when someone is in rehab, you're wanting to see them in the gym 3 hours a day, 5 days a week.
At minimum.
At minimum. Gotcha.
That number is intimidating because you're like, I don't even know.
I heard it collect.
So 3 hours of therapy is going to typically be a 3 therapy versus physical therapy, which is your typical gym time, but then in strengthening and doing all the things. But then you have occupational therapy, which is more of your traditional getting in and out of the bed, getting dressed, on and off the toilet, in and out of the shower, things that take a long time. So if we only did an hour, that's all you would do. You get dressed for the day and then we'd be done. So that extra time is important. And if speech therapy is needed, that is also included in that. If not, if someone does not need speech, then that full hour gets put into OTP again. So you get an element.
All right, talking about nurse to patient ratio.
Yeah, I think that it depends on what type of patients they're taking. Sometimes the nurse will have a heavier patient, not least, just heavier medical need. And that nurse may only have 4 patients because she's got a heavier one. But her counterpart has 5 patients, but they're a little bit easier. I think that 6 is kind of the cutoff for me, if it were me looking. But once again, just kind of knowing what is not just today, but what also does it look like every day. And then real quick, just for Marilyn's question, for rehab, when you go into her, obviously the nurse ratio, but cleanliness and just the vibe, the feeling that you're feeling. Are these people smiling? Are they enjoying their job? I mean, work. Also is the outcomes. Ask them, how many of their patients this year or last year, they went home? How many of them didn't get to return on, had to go to another community? And find out what your goals are and what aligns with yours. If your goal is to get back to where you were, that's one thing to keep in mind. If you're interested in a community, then it'd be some of some other options.
Wonderful. Who else do I have? Do I have any other questions? And Corey, I've got one on here too.
It's very easy for me to discuss things, but my family does not want to hear about it. They think, I guess I'm going to live to be 150 and still drive the grandkids around and doing everything. So, every time I bring it up, it's, oh, but Mom, you're too young, or you're doing really well. And, as I try to say, that's right, but you don't know about tomorrow. It's like, they don't want to hear it.
Yes. So how do we steer that conversation? Like, how do we have that, start that talk with our family?
I wish I could say I've never heard this before, but I've heard it a lot. I have been on the phone with many, many siblings and children of family that did not want to accept it. I used to work in hospice. That was a very hard conversation. I think just being as open as you can, sometimes it really helps to not talk on the phone about it, but bring them to you in person and explain to them your worries, that they need to be prepared, because preparing for it is just going to empower you. It's going to cause less anxiety in the future for your family, because what what your family needs to realize is that if they don't get that plan together, they are going to be really stressed out trying to figure it out later.
Hi, I'm Drew. I got a little bit of an odd question for you, but whether it's striving to climb 14,000-foot peak, which my wife and I attempted a few years ago, which wasn't going to happen because of the time that it took us just to get 12,500 feet. Now, taking that or taking the holiday and the stress that's related to Christmas or Thanksgiving, don't we also need to kind of temper our expectations to some degree so that we can reduce some of that stress or that mental anxiety or deal with something the best ways we can rather than some expectation?
Yeah, I think do you want to take that, Ethan?
First of all, your goals, right? I wish I could do that. It is a challenge for me.
But I think that you just need to make a plan. So if you think you're going to have stress during the holiday, make a plan to stop it. What can you do differently? These are the 3 things I'm going to do. I'm not going to do all the other stuff. I put up 8 free this year. I put it up 2 weeks before because Span is still number. I didn't want to do it. But, they expected it. That's what you need to think about, is just make that plan. And it's not like starting lowering your expectations. It's honing in what's really important.
Boiling it down, right? I think also I'd love to hear from the other 2 of you about that too. If is there an expectation conversation that you guys have in rehabilitation?
Yes. So our expectation is that you're willing and able to do the 3 hours of therapy. And people come to inpatient rehab and don't do this anticipated. Unfortunately, yes. And the great thing about we're at Oklahoma City Rehab is we have so many different people with different hats that just because one thing didn't work with somebody doesn't mean the next person can't go in and try. And even if we don't hit the expected goals, we still make some stronger before. And now we set new goals and it just had even for us for success. So realistically, just always have a plan B and, and honestly, take care of you. What fills your cup and what doesn't fill your cup, and it's okay to have boundaries.
No. And you won't brag on yourself, but didn't you tell me some pretty good stats about MKC? You want to share those with us?
Absolutely. So 2025 was an outstanding year, and we served, I believe my paper's it's back there. I believe we served 1,200 patients in Oklahoma City, and 6% is Oklahoma. So
that's a low percentage. I think that'd be 94%.
Yeah, it's at home. And we have, this compares to our competitors, and they're at locally 11 to 11.5% didn't go home. So I feel like we're good.
Okay, good job. Good. Okay, so setting expectations for your mental health, is there anything that you can add to that?
Or specifically for your mountain climbing?
No, if someone is dealing with some anxiety and some depression, setting realistic expectations, what would you say to someone? Do you have this is where we should be?
So this is what I have to say. You're going to have a bad day, okay? You're going to have a day where you're anxious. You're going to get a call from your doctor or someone who's going to upset you, okay? And that might last a couple days. The problem is when it lasts longer than that. When it lasts longer than that, or, you have some sort of change in either your appetite, your sleep, your irritability. When that change lasts longer than a couple days, that's when you need to talk to someone.
Yeah, I do. Let me get to talk longer. I'm fine. Okay, do we have any other questions? Okay. Georgiana, this. Corey's coming. Wait, Corey. Hurry, Corey.
When you mentioned the ladies' names again and who they're with.
Yes, that's a great idea. I love that question over here. So there you go. Perfect. We got you. Okay, so one at a time. Name and who you're with.
Greg Rieger, and I am a Psych Plus. I'll get you a moment. I see you writing. I am Tamara Lidke, and I am at the Oklahoma City Rehabilitation Hospital.
LIPKE.
That's LIPKE. I see everybody writing gently. I am Lisa Johnson, and I'm a legend singer living.
And you guys would be so surprised how well Amy does with the one in the red blazer, because she can help you with that too. So if you need to be connected, we're pretty. Oh, we have another question. Okay, great.
Forgive me, it's your husband. Can be cute.
So, we've talked about a lot about communities, right? Everyone's different. So I know that we have some communities that actually have like bungalows and actually have garages. So I think that there's a misconception, right, that you're going to move into a one-bedroom apartment, right? So definitely look at your various options. But is there a minimum age that you have to be in order to move into these? Because I know that Becky and I have looked at having someone cook.
Yeah, we're
a
ready.
day
We're ready.
for us, done it. So
It's generally 50.
Okay, we're getting them.
Some are at 60, but some are at 55.
Okay. Yes. Thank you. Do we have any other questions? I think that's probably it. So I do want to tell you, so I had lunch yesterday with Nikki and Chris. And if you're new, you may not know who that is, but Chris and Nikki Buffalo are the founders of Senior Living Tree Series. They started it way back in 2016. They are not able to be here today, but they asked me, and I didn't want to forget to do this. They asked me to tell you that they were so sorry that they're not here. They're planning to be here in February. They're still around, but I did see them yesterday. They're doing very, very well, and they send their blessings and greetings to you guys. Amy, you look like I'm forgetting something. No?
Next slide.
Nice. Oh, nice slide. Okay, so when I let you guys go, I just want to remind you one more time about next Thursday. I'd love to have 100 people register for that, and we are at 70 right now. So if you can come and you're not yet registered, please register on your yellow form. Also, if you know someone, this is an important topic. I mean, we're going to talk about some really crazy things that are happening out there that you need to be aware of. So bring a friend. We would love to increase our community. So please sign up for that. Fill out your feedback forms and you can hand your feedback forms in to an education partner. Like, oh, thank you. What should we all write on our feedback form? It's our name. Because if you ask a question and you want us to call you back, but you don't tell us who you are, then we can't call you back. So write your name on your feedback form. You can also take your sticker app and put it on there if that's easier for you than writing your name. And thank you to our education partners. Please go see them. And we are on YouTube. If this seminar made you think of someone, we should have it on YouTube in the next couple of weeks. So please just encourage them to watch it. If you can't find it or don't know where to find it, call us. We'll get you there. And we are also on Facebook. So please, announcements on Facebook. Guys, I appreciate you so much tonight. Let's do a good job. All right. So we'll get back to the month and I'll see you next week. Thank you.